The Sci-Horror Film Podcast. Hello and welcome to the Sci-Horror Film Podcast. I am Andy Walker and I'm here again with my son Scott. Hello, Scott.
Hello.
Hello.
Sorry, I'll say that again. Hello.
Hello.
That
Right,
really hurt.
How are you?
I'm
Okay.
here.
Well,
I'm all right, actually. I'm not doing too bad this week, actually. I haven't got one thing to complain about so far. Really is, like, bear in mind, when we're recording this, it is the first day of the week, so...
yeah, well, yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. And stuff.
How are you, Father?
Me, I'm erring on the side of caution. I don't know. I'm kind of like I'm
Erring or airing?
yeah. I'm looking at it in the same way as I always liked Alex Harvey used to say when people said to him, "How are you feeling?" He used to say, "I'm considering the situation," and that's kind of where I am.
That's... Do you know what? That sounds quite good, actually.
So here we are again.
Well, actually, I'm in a different place.
Well, you are in a slightly different place.
I'm in the same room, but I'm just in a different
room,
angle.
but a slightly different angle. I think I'm in a different room to the one we did last time because I think I'm in the other room.
No, I decided.
I mean, the other room I have too. It was so rich.
Yeah. Right. All I'm doing is sitting on the opposite side of the desk because of the fact that I've realised that in a lot of the videos I sit there. I've actually had a few friends say to me as well that because of the way I sit normally,
Yeah.
obviously the light's behind me, and there's a few people who have said to me, "You have got black eyes on the light, haven't you?" And it's not. It's the shadow. Look, I can prove it. The light there. Or admittedly, that one does.
You still look
black. Yeah.
You still look like you've got black eyes. It don't matter.
Yeah, I have realised that, like, no matter what I do, I've got a permanent black eye in my right eye.
No, I still think that you just have a natural look of a silent movie villain. There's nothing you can do about it. It just happens.
See, this is maybe what I'm going to tell you later as well. Maybe that's the part I could play from now on. I'm going to put it out to everyone now. And if anyone wants me in a film, I have the great look of a villain that doesn't say anything.
Anybody, I tell you, if anybody wants to check it out, right, watch a number of different Charlie Chaplin films, because there is a character that always played the villain in Charlie Chaplin short films, and he looks just like you. You two look like him. Or
I know exactly who you were talking about when you said Charlie Chaplin.
You could do with a slightly bushier eyebrows. Other than that, it's fine.
You know what? I know this is probably going to give me so much ridicule, but they are normally, but I've actually shaved them down because I was getting
shaved them. I thought for a minute you were going to tell me you plucked them.
No, I shaved them because I was getting slightly annoyed with Amy every time I walked past her going, "Ooh," because I look like an owl.
Fair enough.
Fair
enough. Right, shall we get on with this thing then?
Yes, I would love to know your thoughts on something.
We've got some interesting things this week.
Yes.
We'll get onto them all at some point.
Hopefully we'll get onto them in this episode.
Yeah, we're going to start off with the short film. We've got 3 short films in it. We've got 3 short films. 3 short films. That's 5.
Yeah, we've got 3 short films.
3 short films. All 5 of the 3 of them. We've got 3 short films, and now that's 2 again. Oh God! And then a feature film. So we're going to start off with a short film. This is from 2022, and this is a short film called Amina. It was directed and created by Jesimiel Bello, and the cast is Naima Resmi. No, I'm going to try it again because my brain's not working. Naima Ramsey. There we go. And Willie Kylie Denfulani.
One of these days, we're going to pick a film where we can actually pronounce the names of everyone.
Don't be so silly. Why would I want to do that? This is a I can't remember where it is. Nigerian, I think.
Nigerian, yeah.
It's a Nigerian science fiction film, and the synopsis for this film says, well, it's not really synopsis. It just tells you what the film's about. It says that it shows the battle between belief systems and shows that no matter how much we try, we can't run away from our human nature. Now, I really like this. It's a really quiet film, but it's really powerful, especially with the message.
Yeah, I watched this. I did actually watch this sort of little bits at a time because I was trying to pay attention to the background and what was going on and then read what was going on. So it took me a bit longer.
Yeah.
But yeah, the message in this is so powerful.
I mean, it's effectively just basically it's another one of these stories. I've read lots of short stories, the same sort of thing, which is basically the real problem with this planet is the human race. We are
us.
Yeah, we are the problem, and we
Yeah.
are. If they could eradicate us, then the planet would be so much better.
It's the thing is, it's quite weird actually. I watched this, and then pretty much everything I've watched, apart from the other films for this episode, everything else I've watched for the last week has done nothing but sit there and go, if we weren't around, everything would be so much better. Like I've even watched like people that I follow on YouTube and stuff like that. One of them, they've done a video of they did like a haunted island they went to. It'd been abandoned for a couple of years, and even they turned around and went, "We're the problem." And these are people that are younger than me that are influencers of that, and I'm like, can I not get away from this?
I mean, I read a story years and years ago, and I think it may have been Arthur C. Clarke. May not have been, but it might have been. It was either him or it was in a magazine that he sort of like curated.
Yeah.
And the basic idea was that humanity was deemed as being we are a genetic mutation, and as such we are an illness.
Yeah,
we are a blight on the planet, and so effectively the planet decides that we've got to go. It decides to wipe us out.
It's the one line that's always stuck me in. I can't remember what film it's from, but the line that sticks with me, and it's the fact it's two people talking, and it's like I think it's from The Day the Earth Stood Still or something like that.
Yeah,
it's the fact that it's like this human talking to this power of being, going. They're like, oh, so what can we do to fix it? And he's like, there is nothing you can do. You are the virus.
Yeah,
that is causing the problem. And you look at it, things that bases, and it shows it in this, but we've seen it in so many other horror films and sci-fi films and all that. As soon as humans aren't around, or human race isn't around, everything comes back to life.
Yes, strange. Huh?
It shows the sort of damage that we can do.
Absolutely. But I mean, the other thing is, I really like the effects on this. It's got a great look to it, and it's got a really good feel. I mean, obviously, it's almost all CGI.
I was trying to figure that out. I think it is actually all CGI because of the.
Yeah.
I was looking at. I sort of paused it and I did like frame by frame of the pictures of the shots of the humans that are in it.
Yeah.
And it looks realistic, but I've looked at it and it looks partially animated as well. So it's quite realistic CGI if it is. If not, then the rest of it is amazing the way they've done it around the people.
Absolutely. I really like it though. I mean, it's a short film and it's really quiet and it is very powerful, and I think it's a really good film.
Yeah.
It's really and it's nice. It's nice to watch something coming out of somewhere else, something different. You know, it's not just British or American or European or whatever. It's nice to see something completely different and to see their take on things.
The thing is as well is that we've seen a couple of other films where it's again like we've watched one of the ones before where it's of like the Star Wars one was the sort of Star Wars rip-off one that we watched.
Yeah,
it's one that we've watched it shows the variation of what people can do, and this film I think it is an amazing film, and I think it does the people that made it such a credit.
absolutely,
and it does the area. I think and the fact that, like we said, the strong message that's behind it.
It's nice to see good things coming out of different places, and different take on things. Okay, the second film is a completely different thing. This is on Dust. It says 2022, but we know that might be a little bit different. And this is a film called Eureka, directed by Laura Moss, written by Nick Kusher. Now, the cast on this, the main character is played by Karen Gillan, who, of course, we all know from Guardians of the Galaxy and from Doctor Who and things like that. The other people, there are other people in it who have been in other things as well.
Yeah.
But I didn't delve in too much depth in this.
Yeah, delving too much, you could be here for a while with some of the people that have been in it.
That's right. But the main cast is, apart from Karen Gillan, is Gillian Bell, Karan Soni, and David Dastmalchian.
Yes.
There's a name. The synopsis for this is: a lazy, uninspired woman is visited by an otherworldly being responsible for giving humanity all its great ideas. Apart from this one, I thought this was.
Well, the thing is, actually, as it says at the end of it, not all of them have to be great. They can be okay.
Yeah,
and I think this is perfect for this. But
but it's just a fantastic. I love this film. I think it's so good. It's such a bananas pointless thing that she's got to do.
To be honest, that wasn't even the weirdest bit of this film for me. Don't be wrong. The idea and the stuff that she's got to do is very bizarre and it is very, very odd. That is not the strangest part for me. The strangest part for me is what the creatures look like. The otherworldly beings.
They're just humans.
No, they're not. You know they're not. When the hologram starts going, or you see them at the beginning of it.
Well, yeah, but that's part of her dream. I'm not quite sure what was happening in that dream.
They're not. It is said.
The weirdest thing, the thing I loved about this is the fact that she has a full-on conversation. One of the beings takes control of a honey bear, which is like the kind of the little plastic bear full of honey that you squeeze onto things like, and she has a conversation with this honey bear pot.
Yep.
And the thing I loved was not that. Was the fact at the end of the film, once the credits roll, at the bottom of it, it says no honey bears were injured in the making of this.
Yeah, I did chuckle at that. I did love the fact as well that her reaction to like using the lid to talk, it just looks weird. That's the bit you're taking away from that.
Yeah. Well,
it's
the fact that all the way through, she's sort of like, as soon as she's in this situation, she's like, "Can I ask a question? Why?" And it was like sort of you could choose what you look like, and you decided to look like that.
Yeah, I did love that. I think it's just because there's a couple of films that I've seen the guy that plays him in, and he almost every film he has that same sort of with the same sort of thing pointed out to him.
Yeah,
it's the fact that you look like that. Are you sure you want to try and do what you want to do, or try and it's just sort of I sort of feel sorry for him.
I think it's great. It's really well put together, really well acted, well written, and I just really enjoyed watching it. It was one of these films that I kind of just sat and enjoyed watching.
Yeah, it was. I mean, like it had some serious moments in it. I think with some of the bits that were going on, like sort of the whole AA thing and the sort of people trying to sort of go, look, if you're here, you need help and all that. But it was balanced out well with the comedy side of it as well. I think it was balanced very well.
Absolutely, I just really liked it. So I enjoyed just sitting and watching it and enjoying watching it. It was.
It's definitely one of the weirdest films I've watched in the last few weeks.
Well, beware what you wish for, mate, because we got weird things are coming.
Yeah.
Okay, so there you go. So the next short film, the third short film, which I'd be interested to see why you chose it, is a film called Stalled. Now this is on Omeletto, which is another thing a bit like Dust. And it's dated 2022, written and directed by Matt Black, which I'm sure must be a made-up name. Nobody's really called Matt Black.
I don't know if he is. He is well hard. Sorry, that's a private joke for anyone that knows
uh,
about Matt Black stuff. Sorry. But,
um, the cast is Jacob Daniels. There is another person in it, but they don't get mentioned. That's the janitor.
yeah,
The synopsis for this is: a man goes into a public restroom or toilet, to all of you English people, and gets trapped in a time paradox.
yeah. Is it?
Now, I'm surprised by this because of the fact that I know how much you detest time travel films.
Yes. All right. Get this out there. As everyone knows, and if anyone's watching this and has watched, God knows how many of these was done. I absolutely detest and appall and can't stand any film to do with time travel because 99.999% of them are absolute horse balls because of the fact they're all wrong. I was trying to think of something that we could put out and then
They're
realised
not
that my brain
wrong. They're not wrong. How can they be wrong? Because they're fiction.
had. All right, just I'm not getting into this argument. You do this every time. But I saw this and started watching it, and I got the first minute into it, and I thought, okay. And when they were describing it, I thought, maybe, and they are trying to explain it.
Well, they do confront it head on. They confront the
Yeah,
whole thing
they confront it head on.
of
This is what you've got to do.
paradoxes.
This is how it's a paradox. This is what you've got to do to end it.
Yeah.
And yeah. Problem is that they screw it up at the end.
Why? Oh,
They do the whole thing, yeah, of the fact that he beats the paradox by beating the shut up, by beating the fact that he goes back and does it and beats the paradox by stopping it from starting in the first place.
right.
Until he wrote the note on the toilet paper. Then he started it all over again. If he hadn't left the note, it wouldn't be a paradox. If because he left the note, the paradox carries on going on.
But what he's done, you see, is he's sealed the time loop. He's
Which is now
yes.
continuous.
Oh no, but it will sit there going round and round in circles, but it won't keep unraveling because there will be a definite end to it.
There was a definite end to it anyway because he stopped it.
Yeah, but he would have started again, and if he hadn't written the note, then it wouldn't have. It would have spiraled out into another loop.
Yeah, well,
He had to make sure that it went through the loop that it did to get him back to where he was to close the
he
loop.
was back there anyway.
No, he wasn't.
Hang on, 2 seconds. Shut up. Sorry, no one else can hear this, but I'm sitting in a room with my other half, my beloved other half that I love so much, and all I can hear is her laughing her absolute arse off because of the fact that I'm getting annoyed with this, and she knows it. And the thing is that again, I sat there and watched this whole film through, and Amy and Dad both know the fact that I absolutely detest time travel film, mainly because of the fact that I appreciate more the science than I do the film. But shut up. But the problem is that I have is the fact that I sat there and I tried doing this whole reluctantly thing and giving it the chance. I sat there at the end of it and that was okay. And all I could hear was Amy from the other side of the room and just with slightly under her breath, but loud enough for me to hear, just go, but. And I was like, but nothing. And then I sat there and was like, well, and went on. And all I could hear, literally, I went on this back, 10-minute long rant. And I sat there, and all I heard was just the end of it going, I knew there was something wrong with it.
You know, I mean, it's what it is. I love this film. I thought it was brilliant. It's fantastic. It's a great idea. It's really well thought out. It's really well made.
Don't be wrong. I like the film. Trust me, I appreciate the fact that writing a time paradox film is not the easiest thing to do. Fully aware of that. And I know the fact that it is hard because you end up getting down twists and circles, and it's just annoying. I fully appreciate the fact that he's done it, and it is a good film.
It's one of the better ones of these types that I've seen. It is something I like this, and I like. She watch frequently asked questions about time travel because it's a brilliant film, and I know you'd hate it, but it's a brilliant film. But given your predilection to finding fault in science fiction films because of the science being wrong, I can't wait for you to see Moonfall.
I have seen it, and don't. I saw.
It's one of those films that starts off quite reasonably, and as it goes further on, the more it goes on, the more you go, this is more and more impossible every 3 seconds.
I got halfway through the film. I turned it off, and I genuinely, because I was watching it on my tablet, and I was like, sort of, I think actually I was watching it. I can't actually remember if it was before me and Amy got together or what, but I was watching it, and I turned it off halfway through, and I genuinely thought, oh no, I'll just throw my tablet on the wall, it'd be easier. And then sat there and thought, no, I can't do that because I'm still paying it off for a start. And then thought, oh no, I'm not going to watch it. And then stupidly sat there and thought to myself, I need to carry on because I need to see if it gets better.
It gets worse.
Because it was that thing in my head going, it can't carry on getting worse until the end. Surely they've got to have realised that it got to that point and they've gone, this is rubbish. We need to go the opposite way. But
Yeah,
it
no.
didn't. And
Okay.
yeah.
But anyway, back to Stalled. I really liked it. I thought it was fantastic. I know you.
The effects they use in it,
Yeah.
like the cinematography. Oh, sorry, the cinematography, the special effects they use in it. Don't be wrong, I think is very good. My annoyance is just the science behind it, and I'm just going to leave it there because I know you're going to start laughing. Amy's going to carry on laughing and drop a book. I'm going to lose patience in myself.
Fair enough. Right. Well, I would suggest people go and check it out because it's
Yeah, don't be wrong. Don't be wrong. I would give anyone that says to anyone that go and watch it. It is a good film. Just don't watch it if you don't like time travel film because it will annoy you. But if you like science fiction film, go and watch it.
if you have the ability to suspend your disbelief, which is what science fiction is all about.
Yeah, all right. You have the ability
Anyway,
to watch a film without getting annoyed with it and go and watch this film. If not,
okay.
don't watch any films.
So, okay, fair enough. So we are now on to our feature film. Now, last week we dabbled our toes very gently in the side part of what is probably known as mainstream. This week we've waded in right up to our chest, neck, and it's sort of lapping at our bottom lips.
I don't know. I think sometimes it might have gone fully right over.
Yeah, I think we may have done. Yes. This week we are reviewing the 1998 film Small Soldiers.
Yeah.
Which I find it quite interesting because of the fact I only actually found 2 places online that list it as being a science fiction film. Everywhere else just list it as being a family fantasy.
Yeah. This is right. I will say I chose this one again, shockingly, but it was the only reason I chose this and thought that it was a good fit is because of the fact that Netflix actually referred it as a fantasy sci-fi.
All right, okay.
So they've got a whole sci-fi section, and then underneath in that bit, they've got subcategories, and they class this as a fantasy sci-fi. And I thought, okay, it's still the sci-fi thing, but yeah, it's one of few places that actually refers to it as any type of science fiction.
Okay, let's get through this then. Let's get through this. So, because there's a lot to get through because it's got so many people in it.
Yeah, there's a lot of people in it, voice and
yes. So, right, directed by Joe Dante, who did some TV and shorts work in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s. He's mainly known for the following, though: Piranha, 1978. The Howling, 1981, Twilight Zone, the movie, 1983, Gremlins, 1984, Explorers, 1985, Inner Space, 1987, Gremlins 2, The New Batch, 1990, Trapped Ashes, 2006, The Hole, 2009, Burying the X in 2014, and Nightmare Cinema in 2018.
Yeah.
The writers were Gavin Scott, who did some TV and short stuff in the 90s and the 2000s, and wrote Absolutely Anything in 2015.
Yep.
Then we got Adam Rifkin, who did some TV and short works in the 1990s. He also wrote The Invisible Maniac in 1990 and Chillerama in 2011. And then Ted Elliott, who didn't actually do much in the way of TV and short stuff at all. He wrote Little Monsters in 1989, The Puppet Masters screenplay in 1994, Godzilla 1998, Treasure Planet 2002, and was involved in all of the Pirates of the Caribbean films and all of the Shrek's films. The writing thereof. Now the cast.
Yeah, I will apologise now to you, Dad. I have watched this film quite a few times, and I forgot who was in a lot of this and the other stuff they'd been in.
Yeah. Well, no, it's all right because
So
a lot of them have been in lots of other films, but they weren't in any science fiction or horror films, so that's not too bad.
no, but there is a
Uh,
couple.
So we've got David Cross, who did some TV shorts in the 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and 2020s. He was in Men in Black in 1997, Men in Black 2 in 2002, Battle for Terror in 2007, voice only, Megamind in 2010, voice only, and Next Gen in 2018. Then we have Jay Moore. I think it's pronounced Moore, Mohr.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Did some TV and short stuff in the 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and 2020s. Was in Cherry Falls in the year 2000. Adventures of Pluto Nash in 2002. Now,
Sorry.
Simone, or S1M0NE, Simone in 2002. American Nightmares 2018, and Hunter's Moon in 2020. Why were you laughing?
Oh, because I forgot he was in the Nash film.
Adventures of Pluto
I
Nash.
completely forgot he was in that. And
One of
I
the
love
most
that film.
awful science fiction films
Yeah,
ever made.
it's just I love that film just purely because of how awful it is.
Then we have Alexandra Wilson, who did some TV and short stuff in the 80s and 90s, and nothing else we're interested in at all. Dennis Leary, who I mainly knew, to be honest, from being a stand-up comedian. Did some TV and shorts in the 80s. I didn't realise he'd been in as many films as he had, to be honest.
I know. I was looking at it and I was a bit surprised.
He was in Demolition Man in 1993, Final in 2001, The Amazing Spider-Man in 2014, The Amazing Spider-Man in The Amazing Spider-Man in 2012, The Amazing Spider-Man in 2014, and Freaks of Nature in 2015.
Yeah.
Done loads of other films as well, but aren't science fiction or
Yeah.
horror.
He's got that look about him though, isn't he? Sort of some of the other films he's got, he's sort of fit in look wise.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
I know you mean like not for the science fiction, but like the other films he's been in, he's got that sort of look.
Yes. We got Gregory Smith, who was in some TV and short stuff in the 90s, 2000s, and 2010s. He was in Leaping Leprechauns in 1995, Spellbreaker, Secret of the Leprechauns in 1996, and Shadow Zone, My Teacher Ate My Homework in 1997. Films we've got to see. Then it's interesting because there are a few older actors in this, which would sort of like take me right back through things. Dick Miller, who did some TV shorts in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s.
Yeah.
Dick Miller is quite incredible, but I'll go get on to why in a minute. Why I think he's incredible. But he was in It Conquered the World in 1956. Not of This Earth, 1957, The Undead, 1957, War of the Satellites, 1958, A Bucket of Blood, 1959, Little Shop of Horrors, 1960, The Premature Burial, 1962, The Terror, 1963, X, The Man with X-Ray Eyes, 1963, Death Race 2000 in 1975, Piranha, 1978, Dr. Heckle and Mr. Hype in 1980. The Howling in 1981, White Dog in 1982, The Aftermath 1982, Twilight Zone the movie 1983, Space Raiders 1983, Gremlins 1984, The Terminator 1984, Explorers 1985, Chopping Mole in 1986, Night of the Creeps 1986, Project X 1987, Inner Space 1987, Gremlins 2, The New Bachelor what year was that? 90? All right.
New Batch, yeah, I think so.
Evil Toons 1992, Tales from the Crypt Demon Knight 1995, Route 666 2001, Trapped Ashes 2006, Trial of the Screaming Forehead. Trial of the Screaming Forehead in 2007, which is a brilliant name.
Yes.
The Hull 2009, Burying the X 2014, and Hanukkah in 2019. Now, the thing about him is, right, he played, since being in Bucket of Blood,
Yeah.
in 1959. Okay. He has played a character with basically the same name in 11 different films, TV shows, or short films. So he's basically played the same character since 1959 in 11 different films and TV shows and short films.
Well, as the saying goes, if it's broke, ain't broke, don't fix it.
But it's quite incredible because they're all completely different films about
yeah,
completely different
there's no
things.
connection to the other film other than him.
Yeah, it's just weird that he's played this. And the characters we called either Walter Paisley. We've had Rabbi Walter Paisley and Officer Paisley. It's just weird. Fantastic. Yes, then we have Kirsten Dunst, who did some TV and shorts in the 90s and 2010s. She was in Interview with the Vampire in 1994, Jumanji 1995, The Crow's Salvation in 2000, Spider-Man 2002, Spider-Man 2 in 2004, Spider-Man 3 in 2007, Melancholia in 2011, Midnight Special 2016, and Woodshock in 2017. Jacob Smith, who did some TV and shorts in the 90s and 2000s, but had been anything else that we're interested in. Jonathan Book, who did some TV and shorts in the 90s and 2000s, and no other films that we're interested in. Kevin Dunn did some TV and shorts in the 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and 2020s. Who was also in Ghostbusters 2 in 1989, Chain Reaction 1996, Godzilla in 1998, Stir of Echoes 1999, Transformers 2007, Transformers Revenge of the Fallen 2009, Transformers Dark of the Moon 2011, Captive State in 2019, and Thunder Force in 2021.
Yeah.
Then we have Anne Magnuson, did some TVs and shorts in the 90s and 2010s. Was also in The Hunger in 1983, Tank Girl in 1995. What a brilliant film that is.
And it's such an amazing film.
And First Jerk on Mars in 2016, which I'm assuming is to do with the term jerk in the American sense of the word, being a bit of an idiot, rather than the English term jerk, which has to do more with masturbation.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's the first.
Yeah.
But then again, knowing some of the films that people have been in, it wouldn't surprise me. And you've set Amy off laughing again.
So next we have Wendy Schaal, who was in TV and shorts in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, was in Creature in 1985, Munchies in 1987, Inner Space in 1987, and Batteries Not Included in 1987.
That is such a wholesome film. Before I start, I love that film. Sorry.
What, Batteries Not Included?
Batteries Not Included. Such a wholesome.
Okay. Then we have Phil Hartman, who was in TV and shorts in the 80s and 90s, and was in Spaceballs in 1987 and Coneheads in 1993. Now, Phil Hartman, I thought was just a kind of like TV host stroke comedian, and which is why he's only really in comedy films, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's a bit odd seeing him in this. Then we have Archie Hahn, who was in TV short things in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, was in Phantom of the Paradise in 1974, Inner Space in 1987, Gremlins 2, The New Batch 1990, Misery 1990, Alien Resurrection in 1997, Burying the X in 2014, and All the Creatures Were Stirring in 2018, which I love the title of.
Yeah.
Then we have Robert Picardo. TVs and shorts in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and 2020s. Most people would know him as being the Doctor on Star Trek Voyager.
Yes.
So he was also in The Howling in 1981, Explorers 1985, Legend 1985, Munchies 1987, Inner Space 1987, Jack's Back 1988, 976 Evil in 1988, Total Recall in 1990, Gremlins 2, The New Batch 1990, Star Trek First Contact 1996, Minnow's Mind 1997, Censored in 2009, Quantum Quest, a Cassini Space Odyssey in 2010, Trail of Blood 2011, End of the Road 2011, The Awakened 2012, Atlas Shrugged 2, The Strike 2012. Don't Blink in 2014. Mansion of Blood in 2015. Occupants 2015. Mead 2022. And Disconnected in 2022. We got Julius Tennant was in TV and shorts in the 1990s, was in Confessions of a Serial Killer in 1985 and Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice in 2016. Belinda Balaski did some TV and shorts in the 70s, 90s and 2010s. Was in Food of the Gods in 1976, Till Death 1978, Piranha 1978, The Howling 1981, Gremlins 1984, Explorers 1985, Gremlins 2 The New Batch 1990, and Nightmare Cinema 2018.
Yep.
Rance Howard, some TVs and shorts in the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s. Was in Village of the Giants in 1965, Cocoon 1985, Inner Space 1987, Universal Soldier 1992, Ticks 1993, Ed and His Dead Mother 1993, Children of the Corn 3, Urban Harvest 1995, Independence Day 1996, Mars Attacks 1996, The Sender 1998, The Night Caller 1998, Psycho 1998, A Crack in the Floor 2001, Legend of the Phantom Rider 2002, Sasquatch Mountain 2006, Ghost Town the Movie 2007, Odie and the Wolf, or Odie and the Wolf 2008, Jonah Hex 2010, and Huff in 2013. I just like the idea of it, sort of like this, the idea of being this sort of like horror thing where somebody's so annoyed with you in a real huff.
Yeah.
I mean, such a huff.
Yeah, I know for a time. I know there's been a couple of times where I've been so wound up that all I want to do is just go, "Oh, people."
Yeah. Then we got Jackie Joseph, did some TV and shorts in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Was in Little Shop of Horrors in 1960, Gremlins 1984, and Gremlins 2: The New Batch in 1990. Now we get on to the voice acting.
Yeah.
All of these following are voice actors for the soldiers and the
Argonauts.
Gorgonites.
No,
Argonauts.
is it? No, it's just it was one of my things when I was growing up. I could never say Gorgonite to Argonauts.
Argonauts, yes. So, firstly, we have Tommy Lee Jones, who
Chip
is
Hazard.
Huh?
Plays Major Chip Hazard.
Chip Hazard, yeah. He was in Batman Forever in 1995, Men in Black 1997, Men in Black 2 2002, Captain America: The First Avenger 2011, Men in Black 3 in 2012, and Ad Astra in 2019. There's also lots and lots and lots of other films. Frank Langella,
Yep.
who was the leader of the
played
Archer, leader of the Gorgonites. Did some TV and shorts in the 90s, 2000s, 2010s, was in Dracula in 1979, Masters of the Universe 1987, Brain Scan 1994, The Ninth Gate 1999, Red Dragon 2002, Superman Returns 2006, and A Robot and Frank in 2012. And then we have Ernest Borgnine, who was in TV and shorts in the 50s, the 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s. Was in Willard in 1971, Devil's Reign in 1975, which has to be seen to be believed, to be honest. The Black Hole in 1979, Escape from New York in 1981, Deadly Blessing in 1981, Gattaca 1997, and Enemy Mind. Mind in 2010. Then we have Jim Brown, who did some TV and shorts in the 90s, was in The Running Man in 1987 and Mars Attacks.
Yeah.
Then Bruce Dern. Love Bruce Dern. I think he's a great actor. Did some TV and shorts in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2010s. Was in Hush, Hush, Sweet. Can't say it. Hush, Hush, Sweet Charlotte in 1964. The Incredible Two-Headed Transplant in 1971. Try that again.
Transplant.
Transplant in 1971. Silent Run in 1972, which is the thing I remember seeing him first. Tattoo, 1981. World Gone Wild, 1987. The Haunting, 1999. Swamp Devil, 2008. The Hole, 2009. Choose, 2011. Twixt, in 2011. Toolbox Murders 2 in 2013. V-Force, New Dawn of Victory, 2015. Freaks, 2018. Ravage, rather, in 2019. And Hellblazers in 2022.
Yep.
Then we had George Kennedy, who has some TV shorts in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s. Was in Straight Jacket 1964, Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte in 1964, Death Ship 1980. Turn the page. Virus the End 1980, Creepshow 2 1987, Uninvited 1987, Demon Warp 1988, The Terror Within 1989, Brain Dead in 1990, and The Boneyard Collection 2008. Then Clint Walker. I didn't even know Clint Walker was in this.
I've got to admit, it is weird seeing the other films he's been in and is known for him to turn up in this was very weird.
Action hero. He wasn't.
Yeah. Oh, he's Western as well. Western action hero. Yeah. He's known for all that. And then to turn up as even just his voice in this is quite distinctive. But it's such a weird thing.
Yeah, he did some TV shorts in the 60s and 70s. He was in Killdozer in 1974, Snow Beast in 1977, Deadly Harvest in 1977, and The Serpent Warriors in 1987.
Yeah.
Then we've got Christopher Guest.
Yeah.
Who was did some TV shorts in the 70s with Little Shop of Horrors in 1986. That's it. But most people will know him and the next two people as being one of the members of Spinal Tap.
Yes.
Yes. So the next one is Michael McKean, who did some TV shorts in the 90s, 2000s, 2010s. Who was in Daryl in 1985, Earth Girls Are Easy in 1988, Memoirs of an Invisible Man, 1992, Coneheads in 1993, and Joshua in 2007. And then Harry Shearer, who's in TVs and shorts in the 50s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and 2020s. Started off his first ever film role, uncredited, but he was in Abbott and Costello Go to Mars in 1953.
Yeah.
He was also in My Stepmother is an Alien in 1988 and Godzilla in 1998. I think Harry Shearer is probably best known for providing voices for The Simpsons.
Yeah, I've looked at the IMDb page and there's two people in this that play the two other voices. I don't know if you've got them.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was them.
I haven't finished yet. I've got three more to go.
I didn't know it was. Wow. Okay.
So yeah, next we have Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Yeah.
Who did some TV and short stuff in the 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and 2020s. She was in I Know What You Did Last Summer, 1997, Scream 2, 1997, Scooby-Doo, 2002, Scooby-Doo 2, 2004, The Grudge, 2004, The Return, 2005, The Grudge 2, 2006, and Possession in 2009.
Yeah.
And then we have Christina Ricci.
Yeah. That's the one that shocked me. I didn't realise she was in this.
TV and shorts in the 90s, 2010s, and 2020s. Was in The Addams Family in 1991, Addams Family Values 1993, Casper 1995, Sleepy Hollow 1999, Bless the Child 2000, The Gathering in 2002, Cursed in 2005, Afterlife in 2009, The Matrix Resurrections in 2021, and Monstrous in 2022. And lastly is somebody called Marcia Mitzman Gavin, who did some TV and short stuff in the 90s and 2000s and was in a film called Alone in 2020. And that were it. The synopsis for this film says...
Yeah, we are still reviewing this, by the way. We're not just listing stuff.
Yeah. The synopsis for this film says... When missile technology is used to enhance toy action figures, the toys soon begin to take their battle programming too seriously. So, I am somewhat interested to get an insight into, given
Say my
given
mind, and I'll be here forever. Right, fine.
given all of the things that we have reviewed before,
Yes.
I'm somewhat interested to get an insight into your thinking about going into something so, firstly, mainstream, and secondly, child friendly.
Right. I have two things about this. One, I found out recently because of the fact that the age of this is now technically classed as a cult classic.
Right.
So I was a bit. I don't know what annoyed me more: the fact that something that was younger than me is now being classed as a classic, or the fact that it's open that widely, but also the fact that I watched this film obviously when I was a lot younger. I say a lot younger when I was younger, and it amazed me. It shocked me so much, and I thought, oh, this is fantasy. This is sci-fi. It couldn't be that happen.
Yeah.
And the reason why I chose this is mainly because of the fact that it's got to that point now in time in our technology thing in our time where it is almost possible.
Right.
No, but I don't mean like that as in like if someone's going to make a mistake and put military grade chips into a toy. But the fact that you think that some of the toys and some of the stuff that is coming out nowadays with whole smart technology and stuff like that, it could be done.
Yeah, no, I can see what you're saying. I can see what you're saying. And don't get me wrong. I mean, I don't want anyone to think that I have an issue with
Yeah.
mainstream films,
Yeah.
because let's face it, I've watched enough, and we've reviewed ones that at the time that they were out were considered kind of mainstreamish. And
Oh, this is.
I'm not saying that we should only concentrate on non-mainstream films, because that's not the way we go. But
I give you, mate. There's the things that I looked at this, but main, understand the two reasons why I said it, but also because of the fact that it it was. This is another film that I agree with you that when it came out, and even sort of into the early 20s when it came, well, early 2000s, sorry, 20, early
yeah,
2000s, it was
yeah,
still a mainstream film.
yeah.
It was watched quite regularly. Now it's almost become like the only time I ever see this on TV or anywhere that's not on a streaming service seems to be almost over Christmas.
Yeah, I know what you
And it
mean.
seems to
It
almost
does.
become the fact that it has become almost a Christmas film. And
Well,
it's
it's because it's so child friendly, and it's like,
well,
they
the
they
thing,
look they look for child friendly fantasy films to put on at that sort of time.
yeah. Well, the thing is, I was thinking about it. It is and it isn't. It is child friendly. The fact that okay, yeah, there's no gore, there's no the stuff that in the other films that we've watched that are sci-fi that have got to that point. But I don't really think that it's that child friendly when the kids are being shot at with nail guns
No. I mean, I must admit
or staple guns. Sorry.
there are elements to it. Yes, I
Yeah.
can see what you're saying. And I don't say, don't get me wrong. I don't want anyone to think that I don't like it because of the fact that it's too mainstream, and I'm not a kind of a sort of a sci-fi or horror snob who thinks that we should only review films that are kind of like,
Yeah.
and all that sort of thing. I would actually say that it's an interesting and entertaining film to watch if you're sitting down with your family on a Sunday afternoon. You've got bugger all else to do.
Yeah.
Other than that, I find it boring as hell. It took me 3 attempts to watch the whole film because I was just so bored with it.
Yeah. I've got to admit, like, like I said just a minute ago, the first time I watched this, I'm going to make myself sound really old now, and I really hate the fact I'm going to. But I was a lot younger and I was a lot more naive.
Well, I mean, 1998. How old were you in 1998?
7.
Huh?
7.
7, yeah. So, that's
Yeah, all right. Well, I'm only 32, okay? I'm 32 this year, and I make myself sound older every time we do this podcast.
well, it's
I've
because
realised that I am just
we
older in
keep
my
doing
head.
old films. You
Oh,
think about how I feel. Think about
yeah,
how
no,
I feel when I'm talking to you about the fact that I bunked in to go and see The Exorcist when it first came out of the cinema.
No, I see. When this first came out, I was saying I think I watched it. I don't think I watched it when it first came out, but I did watch it in the first few years.
Yeah, I think when it came out on video, I think we had it.
Yeah,
We
it's
got
just
it out.
again for anyone who's too young to realise, videos were bigger DVDs. For anyone that doesn't know
They were
what DVD is, it's a solid streaming service. Um,
videos were big clumpy plastic
yeah,
boxes that you
they were
shoved
big bits
into
of
a
metal that you shoved into a big thing that used to look sort of like a massive toaster. Um,
yeah.
yeah, so it's just the thing is that so I watched it when I was probably say about 10, and it blew my mind because of this whole whether or not it was the whole yeah it was a lot of it was the sort of
Don't get me wrong. I think as a family film and for kids to watch at that sort of age, I think it's a great film, and it is
yeah,
it's a good adventure, sort of like
well,
sci-fi adventure sort of.
yeah it's a nostalgia film. Like you could
It's
sit there and you can
it's what used to be called when I was a lad. It was what used to be called a good family adventure romp.
yeah okay. But yeah, no, it's just the thing. So like when I first watched it, it was that fantasy. It was
Yeah,
still miles off and years down the line. And again, this is my point. It's the fact that like 22 years ago, I thought this was years down the line. It's going to be a millennium before it's that point, and
yeah,
now it's not. Like I'm saying, it's almost I don't know. It's one of them films where I sat there and it's it stands the test of time for me with some of the graphics and some of the things that were done.
yeah.
It's also then sort of scary when these people go, "We need to make this film because it's going to be so outrageous that it's never going to happen." And then you sort of sit and watch it now, and you go, "We're not that far off, you know."
Yeah, I know what you
Like
mean.
some of the smart devices and stuff like that is saying is it's ridiculous the fact that you can do that. And
I do get what you're saying. I it's interesting. For me, one of the things I would say about it is the fact that it's kind of um it kind of stood the test of time for me in a way because of the fact that I found myself when I watched it this time still kind of like, even though I know what the outcome was, and even though I really wasn't that invested in the film, I could tell, I could feel myself the fact that I wanted the good guys to win. I wanted the
yeah,
Gorgonites to win
well, it's the thing. It's
because
the thing is that like, I was saying I've watched it so many times and I've got that same feeling. And it's almost that point at the end where they sail off and they're then free and without the scourge. And I sat there and it's that sort of going heart wrenching moment. And I have it almost every time, and it's quite scary because normally I don't show a lot of emotion, but it comes to that, and I'm like, it's still sort of you find yourself with that catch your breath, and it's just sort
yeah,
of it's one of them nostalgic films, and I don't know, it's just yeah, I agree. It's one of them films that you can put on a Sunday afternoon in the background. You can sit with your family and watch it. Not a problem.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's not. It's a mainstream
There was
film, but
there
I
was
wouldn't say
there,
it's.
there was a lot of good. There were a lot of good things about this film. There were a lot of, as you say, some of I mean, the effects and that kind of thing are really well done, and
But
there's a lot of,
especially as well as this, it is a late 90s film,
yeah.
and some of the techniques that they were using for the robot, like for the toys and stuff like that, was very state of the art at that point, and
Oh yeah,
it's still very well done even now.
yeah. I mean, it does give a good look, and a lot of the effects do look really good. As you say, they stand up to looking now. Uh, I think my problem with it is that I kind of, I don't know. I kind of I don't find it. It doesn't sort of keep my interest now as much as it did when I first time I saw it. I think it's one of those films where, for me, and maybe it's my age or whatever, the age I was when I first saw it, but for me, it's like sort of, it's one of those films that once I've seen it, I kind of seen it.
Yeah, I get that. It's one of them films that I sort of feel the same. It's sort of it's exciting the first time.
Maybe,
Maybe, maybe.
maybe.
What was in that drink? Um, maybe. Um, like sort of the second or third time, it's still a little bit exciting. But when you've watched it a couple of times, you're like, okay,
I think
and it's
it's a long time since I've seen it,
yeah,
but I did find myself getting a bit kind of like, oh yeah.
yeah,
No.
it's
It's not like sort of I can leave something like the original Ghostbusters. I can leave it for 5 or 6 years between watching that and still watch it and enjoy it.
yeah,
With this, I kind of started watching it, and when it got to a certain point, I thought, oh yeah, okay,
yeah. I've got to admit, last time I watched this, I would say it was a good almost 10 years ago
yeah.
because the joys of the same modern day stuff, my two never found this interesting. They still don't because when I said to her about this, or when I said to the youngest one about this, she just looked at me with a look of "What the hell are you talking about, you strange old man?" Um,
Well,
so she's not bizarre really because she looks at me like that most of the time. But it's the sort of it's one that I sat down and thought to myself like this was a film that I don't know I thought was amazing when I was younger, and
yeah, yeah.
it's
And
a sort of it showed. So this is my point about the fact it shows the fact it's normalisation because of the fact that when I was younger, I thought this was a whole oh my god moment, and now it's sort of yeah, all right, my toy does the same thing.
yeah, yeah. It's,
It's just
it's
I don't know.
it's interesting. I mean, it's an interesting point in time because I mean it's a massive film. If you think about the cast and that sort of thing, it, if you were to make a live action film
Yeah,
with all of these people in, it would have, it
not
would have,
even all the not even if you make a live action film with just the people they have as the voice actors
yeah.
in it, it would well, it would cost a lot for a start.
But it's just yeah. I mean, it is quite. I mean, it's an amazing cast in it, and it's. I will say the other thing I noticed about it though is the fact that Joe Dante does seem to have this kind of ensemble sort of group of people who have been in almost all of his films. It's like almost everybody in this film has either been in Inner Space or one of the Gremlins films,
Yeah.
or one of the other films that he made.
Well, I've just looked this up, and because we were talking about how much it costs and all that,
Yeah,
and bear in mind this is in what '98, so
yeah,
obviously money rising and lowering, but it was estimated as a budget for to make this as $40 million,
yeah,
which okay, I know there's a lot of films we've watched that have done that as a sort of as a budget for one person, but the fact that when he brought it in, it only made 14,000 over the top or 40 million more
yeah.
as a sort of thing. So it basically scraped by as a pass film. So it barely broke even really. It's such a bizarre like it seems like an awful lot of money to put in, and saying it's still a good film, but
Yeah,
it just
yeah.
seems like massive amount of money.
But I mean, things were different then. Things were the way films were made were different. The way the budgeting was done was different, and you would spend loads of money on a film
Yeah,
because you
I
knew
know.
you knew you'd get some return on it. Um, and the companies were willing to put it in. It's like sort of you turn around and you go, okay, it's a film being made by Joe Dante.
Yeah,
It's got all of these people in it. 90% of which are well-known actors and
yeah,
well known for other stuff and have got a good track record.
yeah,
And it's a kind of it's going to appeal to the children's market. It's going to appeal to the sci-fi market. It's going to appeal to the holiday market. So that sort of thing. If you
yeah.
put it out at the right times,
What's
you're going to get a good return on it.
what's the thing is that like I've just looked this up as well, and IMDb pretty much classify it as almost every genre they can. It's under action, adventure, sci-fi, fantasy, family. So it's a film that sort of goes to a lot of markets.
Yeah, well, that's the whole thing about it being a mainstream film, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
not kind of like a niche film where it's only for people who are into sci-fi, or only for people who are into,
yeah.
you know,
But I don't know. It's just I thought it was just a very good, not a very good film, but it was. It's a film that's stood the test of time with a lot of the effects. Okay,
yeah,
yeah, the acting mainly for me by Kirsten Dunst, but that's just because I don't think she's that good of an actress. Um, is like it can leave a little to sort of the imagination that it needs to be done a bit better. But the effects in it, I think, just
Yeah,
amaze me the fact that they're still as good as they are.
yeah. No, I agree. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's it was okay to watch. Again, it's not something I would choose to watch again necessarily.
Yeah,
It's kind of not my kind of thing. I'm never totally sure it was my kind of thing the first time round. It was just mainly, I think it was just kind of like, oh, this is a good family film to sit and watch with the kids, and that's
yeah,
the thing. Um, I put this in the same sort of category as things like Inner Space and Batteries Not Included and things like that, which are kind of like they're okay, kind of sort of soft sci-fi action sort of.
yeah.
But I would class them as being like kid films.
Yeah,
But
they're
then,
very family friendly.
but then again, I mean, we did the last Starfighter, which again is classified in the same way. But I loved watching that, and I love watching it. I loved watching it again. So it's difficult, but it
Yeah, I
made
think
me.
it's one of them things. I think it's there's different things of it. I think the sort of nostalgia moments is the fact that there's other ones that you quite happily have quite a lot, quite often, or ones that are meant for sort of big gaps between them.
Yeah,
And I think
I
this
mean,
one fits definitely with having a big gap
I, I
between.
I've got no problem with people who like watching this film or any of these
Ah,
sort of type of films, but it's just, I mean, it's not really my kind of thing. And as you say, yeah, I think you need to leave a big gap between watching it and the next
yeah,
time you watch it, just so that you can kind of have a sort of a similar sort of feel to it when you watch it the next
yeah.
time.
I will say though, for the writing side of it, they could have done a little bit better with the naming of the people, like the toys and all that. Just like don't be wrong, like you've got Chip Hazard,
Yeah,
yeah, then you've got Nick Nitro, Link Static, and it's just like really that creative with the name, really, is it?
well, I mean, you got to think about the whole thing. I mean, it's like toys. The whole thing would be sold on the main characters, wouldn't it?
Yeah, which was Archer and Chip.
So
Oh, it's just the thing is, I think a lot of it was actually sold more on the Gorgon.
yeah, I mean, I must.
Their names were a lot like you had like Slamfist, Frankenstein, Scratch It. Um, oh, I can't remember the other ones, and it's gonna bug me now. Like you had like ones like that, and it was sold a lot more on them. I think because they were the good guys, they were
Yeah,
the ones, the
but
sort of minority. If that.
the other thing is, I think that one of the reasons that they were willing to put so much money into this is because this was another one of these films that was sold on the fact that they could market the toys.
Oh yeah, the toys. There was toys. There was think computer games of it as well done. There were
Yeah,
like action figures. There was merchandise. They could do it all with the toys on it, and I get that.
yeah.
And I think, but it's just I don't know. I think it's a good film, but yeah, it's definitely one that need. I think for me, I think need a big gap if you're
It
going to watch it more than
it was
once.
it was interesting to do, um, but
It was just
yeah,
again my main thing is the fact it's just the fact it had um, Clint Walker in it for a start.
yeah,
Just threw me like I've watched the film quite a few times, and then I thought, and I had to look it up, and I looked it up, and I was like looking up all the people who've done the voice acting, and I was like, just his voice was always so familiar to me, so recognisable.
no, I mean,
And then I see the film, and I was just like, it didn't fit with everything else that he
but
had done.
I mean, if you look at the people that, I mean, like him, Clint Walker, Ernest Borgnine. I mean, Ernest
Yeah,
Borgnine's been in some of the biggest war films and Western films that were ever made.
yeah,
He was in things like the Dirty Dozen and all these
yeah.
sort of films, and it just, George, God, I can't remember his name now, George Thingy as well, him,
Ah, yeah, yeah.
that
Um,
bloke. Uh, God, that's really going to annoy me now. George.
George. Asian.
I will get it. I will get it.
No, that's the wrong one.
George Kennedy.
Oh yeah.
George Kennedy again. He was in loads of. George Kennedy was in almost. There was a spate of disaster movies throughout the 70s and 80s that were all based around airports and aeroplanes being crashing, right? And he was in almost every single one of those films, and they were all massive films at the time.
Yeah.
You know,
It's just what I'm saying. It's. I think a lot of it was sold like for the merchandise, but to sit there and say to these people, look, we've got this part for you, but all we need is your voice.
yeah.
And even in the 90s, was still a remarkable thing to do voice acting.
As you say, I mean, Sarah Michelle Gellar and Christina Ricci
Yeah.
were both kind of like well-known actresses at the time, and they were up-and-coming actresses who were doing really, really well.
Well, Christina Ricci, that like the Addams Family thing come out at the same sort of time.
Yeah.
So she was this big star that that was known for being the sort of that age genre they were trying to pull in.
As I say, Sarah Michelle Gellar had done a few horror films and was kind of like doing Buffy.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, so
And it's the thing, so like even so you got like the names they had in it, I think, which was the main thing they sold it, brought in so many people to be able to watch it. You think you sit there and say to someone, "Oh, Tommy Lee Jones is in it," you're gonna find a fan. Or Clint Walker, or saying like Sarah Michelle Gellar, you're gonna find a fan for one of them.
The other thing is that Frank Langella at the time had come off the back of doing things like he played Skeletor in the Masters of the Universe film and that kind of thing, you know. So
it's just what I'm saying. It's just the names they had in it, I think, is what pulled in so many people and has now made it, as much as it pains me to say, a cult classic.
Yeah.
And it's not because of the fact that the film's not good. It's mainly because of the fact it's made me feel a lot older because of the fact that the film was younger than I am. So,
well, no, I mean, okay. It was, as I say, it was interesting to do, and I was interested to see why you chose it for it. But it was good. It was good. It's always nice to do something different and to do a different style of sci-fi film.
Yeah.
So you know, we you can't say we don't cover a huge sort of variety of films in this.
I will say as well, part of me sort of chose it mainly because of the fact that I knew, as much as I liked the film, I knew that I sort of guessed that you possibly might not be a big fan, and I know that we've had a massive rap at the moment of liking almost all sci-fi films that we've watched, and it's just freaking me out a bit. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's the other thing for me is I don't know. It's I suppose it's sci-fi. I can accept the fact that it's sci-fi because of what it is, but it's not really what I would class as being a sci-fi film.
There is that. It's very loosely sci-fi for me.
Yeah, I mean,
it's still got moments in it, but it's still loosely for me.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Well, there you go. So we have 3 short films, which we kind of 2 of which we agreed on, 1 of which we agreed to differ on, and then we had the feature film of Small Soldiers, which and if you disagree with us on any of these film reviews, please let us know. If you have
waiting for the message pigs and the smoke dolphins. So.
Yes, message pigs and smoke dolphins. But if you have anything you want to say to us or anything you would like us to do or not to do, then
that is the question.
Then so, but I mean, hopefully we won't get any that say just don't do the reviews anymore at all.
No, funny enough, I was thinking there might be a few every now and again. Someone might be going, "Just don't give up your day job," which isn't that hard for me. But it's the fact that there are a few people out there that seem to enjoy what we talk about.
Yeah,
either they enjoy us talking about the films or just the inane drivel that we talk normally.
Yeah, I don't know. Strange thing. Okay, so there we go. That's that, and that's that, and that, and that, and that. Next week we have more of the same. I think maybe we'll do one more that is specifically sci-fi, and then after that we're going to start mixing things up again.
Okay.
So
what's coming up in the next couple of weeks?
The movie.
Seeing if there's any big celebration things coming up in the next couple of weeks.
No, we've got a couple of weeks. I will say that in 3 weeks' time, we will be doing a special episode.
That many
3
that
weeks.
many for people that don't understand Dad's logic when he was saying 3 and 5 and all that.
I can actually count, but yeah, in 3 weeks' time, we will be doing a so yes, this one we got 2 more episodes, and then the third episode will be a special episode where we will be reviewing 4, I think 4, possibly 5 films, short films that are all be available on the Deformed Lunchbox channel on YouTube. They have a new one coming out at the beginning of May, which we're going to review, and they've had a couple of new ones out.
Yeah, they've had a couple of new ones come out in the last few weeks. They seem to be pumping them out really quickly.
We will be doing a Deformed Lunchbox special, which will include an interview as well.
Yeah.
So there will be a review of I think it's 4, possibly 5 short films which we haven't reviewed before, and then an interview with the people at Deformed Lunchbox.
Yeah.
Next week, more sci-fi, and then the week after that, a bit mix up, and then the Deformed Lunchbox.
Sorry, next week's sci-fi. It's the fact you went next week's sci-fi, and the week after that,
a mix up. Some sci-fi, some horror.
Gestures.
Some sci-fi, some horror, some bits and that and stuff. And then because it's my birthday at the beginning of June, I've chosen an episode for the beginning of June before my birthday, which is going to be full of some of the most obnoxiously disgusting films you probably want to watch.
Oh, great.
But just, be grateful. I couldn't find anywhere where I could find a free streaming of the Human Caterpillar films. So
the thing is, this is going to divide everyone that likes me when I talk. Yeah, I love them films.
No.
Right. No, I'll rephrase it. I don't love the film. I like the fact that horror behind it, that type of horror film. Okay, yeah, the films are disturbing as absolute weird and wonderful films.
No.
But I like the films.
No. The first film was a kind of reasonable sort of like, this is sick, but it's quite interesting. The second film was, this is just sick. The third film was, I do not want to ever see anything like that again, ever, because it is just like,
why?
It's because
you never ever wondered what happens in a prison.
I watched the third one. And thought, I want to take my eyes out and scrub them clean with bleach so that I never have to be reminded that I ever saw that.
I actually have a friend that watched the first and second one in a row, and all I got was a message from him the next day going, I have not been able to sleep. But he said he started watching it at midday, and he got a text from him at 5 a.m. saying, I can't sleep because every time I close my eyes, I see what happens. And then a week later, turned up to me with bloodshot eyeballs. Right. And I went, what have you done? And he went, oh, I had a sleep-deprived moment. So this is like 3 days he went without sleep. Yeah. Because of the fact every time he closed his eyes, he saw what was happening in the films. He went, sleep-deprived moment. My brain just switched off, and I thought to myself, I know how to get rid of the images. I'll burn them out. So he sat underneath hot water taps with his eyes, trying to get his eyes open. I'm like, dude, just an idiot. But I love it.
That's just bizarre.
Yeah, well, these are the friends that I hang around with. Well, you too. But this is I like these films. I like films like this.
I like weird and sick, slightly strange and sometimes sick films. Yes, I do. But I do not like them because of the fact that they are just sickness for the sake of sickness. And there's no reason for anyone to want to watch those films ever.
See, this is the point where everyone listens to that, because of the fact that I love films like that. I love films where there's like there's so much gore that it makes people feel ill,
But
and
it's not a
I love
gore.
films.
It
No,
was
but
just
I love sort of the films that people go, that's making me feel physically.
but but yeah, it just there is no reason, absolutely no reason whatsoever, ever for those people to make films like that or to watch films like that.
It's because there's sick and twisted people out there like me.
There's just no need for it, no reason
Oh,
for it at all.
don't get me wrong. It took me a while to watch. Like I couldn't do what my friends done, which is watch them all one after the other. Like there has to be a gap in between it because I'm not that much of a psycho. But
You know, I never ever want to watch any of them again because they're just sort of they're no, they're just wrong
yeah, we found a group of films we don't agree on.
in every single way. They are wrong. Anyway, enough of that. We will see you again soon. Thank you very much, Scott.
That's
Thank you to the
okay.
people out there. I may have to edit this down a bit because this is about an hour and a half long.
Yeah, well, that I think that was more because of the cast list.
Yeah, I may have to look at cutting a few bits out of this, but we'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
We will see you again soon. Take it easy and all that kind of thing and all that sort of stuff. Bye.
Bye.
The Sci-Horror Film Podcast.